All right, so I got to see Guillermo Del Toro's newest movie, and this is something else, man. I got to talk about this. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein. That's right, another entry into the Frankenverse. But I gotta tell you, this is a different version of the Mary Shelley, story of Frankenstein, and I have a lot to say about it. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist, brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. Obviously directed and written by Guillermo Del Toro, he had a very specific vision for him. This is one of the movies that he has wanted to do apparently since he was a child. There was an interview with him on one of the late night shows where he actually spoke about how he had this vision about doing this movie at 8 years old when he saw the original, wanted to make a movie like this, how Pinocchio in some ways is very much a similar story, and so much more. Obviously, this follows the story of Mary Shelley, but it is much different in a lot of different ways. I won't spoil any of the major things about it. I'm just going to specifically focus on what I thought of the film, how it looked, how it felt, the acting, and all this other stuff. And I gotta say, man, holy shit. This movie is beautiful. And I've always known Guillermo Del Toro makes some of the best sets, but holy fuck, man, this set on this movie is phenomenal. The artistic design that they choose with not only the setting and the scene, but also the characters and the clothing and the everything is just phenomenal. There's moments in the movie where Victor Frankenstein, is actually working on bodies and showing it. The artistry that they have and the way that they pose these bodies is amazing. It's morbid beauty. The movie's pacing, first of all, I will say, it has more of a modern day pacing than even the Mary Shelley Frankenstein movie that restarted the Frankenstein craze again. It is similar in that it is the dark grotesque or grotesqueries that you would see in that movie, because that movie had a lot of very biological fluid and things like that. This is a little bit more of a modern-ish version with the way that he brings these things about. They get into kind of how it works a little bit more detailed, which is kind of awesome. The characters in which that are being played by some of the best cast you could even ask for. You got Oscar Isaac, who's playing Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi, who I have never really even been a fan of, but my God, he plays the creature, the monster, amazing. And I was kind of floored at just how amazingly beautiful the way he interpreted the character and brought it to life. When you watch the Frankenstein movies, he's kind of childlike brain, and then he becomes a little bit smarter, as it goes on. And there is just a lot here that Jacob Elordi does really well. Also, we have Christopher Waltz. I mean, Jesus Christ, that guy alone is just one of the most fantastic actors, in my opinion, to ever. I mean, everything that he's in is just amazing. This guy, it just nails his part. And he is really good with Oscar Isaac together. They are fucking fantastic. Mia Goth, holy shit. I've seen her in a lot of different stuff, and we know that she can act. This is I don't know how to explain it. She's almost suppressed in a lot of her acting, but the subtle, nuanced, performance that she's giving is astounding. She's really good in this, and I don't know, I've heard other people say opposite of that, but I don't get it. The acting in this movie is top notch. The writing in the story and the way that they kind of pace this kind of frenetic pacing a little bit in certain areas, this movie moves, and it is a 2.5 hour movie that did not feel like a 2.5 hour movie. Every scene that you love in that story of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in many instances is either there or even made better in some instances from its previous, predecessors, which I think is a feat. Now, it's not always going to be that way, and it is a very different vibe and a different feel, a different taste, if you will, but I really liked it. And I think this movie is going to take some of the younger generation who didn't really know Frankenstein like that and re-energize a whole new life into it. And I think that is the ultimate goal. And Guillermo Del Toro has added to, of all of the different, Frankenstein movies, he is definitely in the top portion of those films. I haven't seen those other ones to compare it again to really know 100%, but let me just say that this is one of the better Frankenstein movies I've ever seen. And maybe it's because it's a little bit more modern in some instances. The characters he wanted to have play a little bit different. Like Victor Frankenstein, he wanted to be kind of like a rock star looking, and how he acted. His obsession really gets out of control in this movie, and they really do showcase that, I think, in a lot of ways. It's very, very, very subtle stuff here that I'm griping about. And it's only because I want to be objective and kind of explain the differences here. But there is just different in some of the storytelling and how they kind of move it along with some of the characters and such. It kind of oversteps it a little bit in some ways. There is a level of heartfelt emotion tucked into the creature in this movie that I have not seen since the original Frankenstein movie. It's pretty amazing. Again, Jacob Elordi, I loved his performance in it. Yes, there is something to be said that all of these hot people are playing these characters. And, you could say that, maybe Frankenstein shouldn't be so hot. I'm not saying I was attracted, but there is that gripe out there with some of the people. But I think if you can kind of look over that and just kind of focus on the storytelling and the acting, you will kind of let that stuff fade away. You have to remember also that Guillermo Del Toro is an aesthetic person. His sets are just impeccable. Everything on that movie is just so fucking gorgeous, man. Even the crazy thing is when we get to the castle and stuff like that, where he actually is working on the studies that he's doing, they actually have the set that almost looks and reminded me similarly of his Crimson Peak, which is, not hard to kind of make a comparison to because he just has that style about him, but it's different in its own way too. And I think this one looks even better. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things to say about this movie and not a lot of bad stuff to say. There is no doubt that some people are going to have their favorite things that they like about the story. They may or may not think this is their number one, but let's just say it is part of the very few that are amazing, in my opinion. And that is the original one, the Mary Shelley one that they did that rebooted the whole fucking thing. And then this one, to me, are the top three ones. And I think this one's kind of giving the one in the 90s a run for its money. But that's just my opinion. That's just my thoughts about it. There was a lot of thrilling instances, a lot of action and stuff in this movie that may be something that some people do not like in the movie, but it is good in its own personal way. It's just whether or not you're going to overlook or enjoy those things. I know people who have said that they're giving it an 8 out of 10, even though they prefer the other ones because of certain aspects. They kind of felt like this one had a little too much spectacle. One of my good friends, Matt, who is a phenomenal writer, he said that it had a little too much spectacle, and I could see what he means by that, but it didn't bother me. And even he said it shouldn't bother anybody. It's just his particular gripe. I think it's worth seeing. If you get a chance to see it, go and see it right away. I think you're going to realize that time just slips away while you're watching it, and you're going to want more in the end, which I certainly did. And I am somewhere between an 8.5 and a 9, probably a 9, but I got to watch it again because I feel like I need to kind of hone my, see what I need about this film just to make sure, because I just really had a good time watching this film. Now, there may be other people lower than that, and that's fine. We're all different. We all have different opinions, but this is just my score. I definitely think this is one of the best movies of the year, and it's definitely in my list for the year as well. I will definitely rewatch this one just like I did the Mary Shelley from 1994. It's nice to see that we can still make classics like this and make them really impactful. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. You know, I know this isn't for everybody, but I don't think it's one of those movies that's going to be in the more pleasing side than the few that are going to be upset with its particular things. I think most people are going to be in the overwhelming side of this is pretty decent. But who knows? I could be wrong. I've seen a couple of my friends say they weren't impressed by it. What can I say? I really enjoyed it. So I hope you do too. And even if you don't, I hope we find something for you in the future that you will enjoy. But thanks for coming by, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you haven't seen it, get to Netflix, okay? But thanks for coming by. And as always, long live the void.